everyone. Hello. All right. So, I have a goal from my colleagues to actually record how to say Zažít, město, jinak in Kazakh and in Russian. So you will have to help me with that. I have to bring the recording back. So that's the name of our festival, and I want to tell you a little bit the story how this thing evolved and how it changed over time. And I also want to inspire you to think a little bit how to design campaigns in order to get what you want. So let's see the first slide. So that's about where our town is, our city is located. It's pretty much in the center of what you call the Central Europe. And we have a population of about 1.3 million inhabitants. And here, what you see in this picture is actually the very historical center of the city. And you see that it has a very dense structure. It's a very, very dense city structure. We also have the outskirts, with the housing projects, which it's the same era. It's the 60s to 80s, let's say. And there is a big discussion going on right now about what to do with these. And there's one group of people saying they are not so nice for living. Other people say that it's actually not so bad, you can still live nicely in these outskirts. What is great about Prague is that there is a great system of public transportation. That's one of the strongest sides of the city, I think. Can we go one back? On top you see the system of tram and metro lines and buses, which pretty much really cover the whole city. That's the metro. We have 3 lines so far, and now they're slowly starting to construct the 4th line. And those are the trams. And we also have this kind of endless urban sprawl. So there are several circles of small sites, towns and villages around the city, which grow and grow. Often there is no city plan for these small places, so they just become these huge, kind of pointless constructions on the side of the city. I want to talk a little bit about the numbers, which were important for the reason why our organization exists and what it tries to do. This is the modal split, the modal share for Prague. So you see that public transportation does about 42 of all the capacity of transportation which happens in Prague. Car transportation about 30%. Pedestrian about 26%, so which is to say that we still have, it is in a way a city of short distances. And there's a little bit of biking and a little bit of combination between individual and public. So you can see that the good thing is that you still have a big share of transportation which happens by public transportation. However, the amount of kilometers driven by car, by individual transportation, is growing every single year since 1999, let's say, 1995, always going up. Now we are in a point where there is a little bit of stagnation, so there's no more kilometers per year that we do by car inside the city. But that's just simply because the capacity of the streets has been filled. There's no more cars that fit into the city. So that's a pretty bad thing if you realize that. So in 2006 there was a whole bunch of people who wanted to change this. And one of their primary goals at the time was the promotion of biking, because at the time there were almost no biking lanes in the city, and so there was this maybe 1% of people using the bikes, and we were saying that, or these people were saying that there's no need for it to be like that, that it's possible in Prague to ride the bike and something should be done about this. So that was one of the motives. Another strong motive was the idea that we should change the relationship of public and the city towards its public spaces. Because there was this strong feeling that parking your car is really one of the most important functions of public space. And we had the feeling that the public spaces were being taken up by individual transportation and nothing else was happening in there. So, and then there was a third element which was really important for the emergence of our initiative, and that was that we wanted to cooperate with artists. I was at the time working in a small theater in Prague, this kind of new form theater, and we were approached by the activists who said that they wanted to do something and they wanted to involve artists, and let's talk, let's have an idea. It's okay, not too fast? Okay, good. Okay, and one of the inspirations that we had was in the car-free days. So that was when we were looking up what we wanted to do. Our idea was to do a car-free day. So we decided to pick one place in Prague, which is called Smetanovo nábřeží. It's a riverbank, as you can see. It's a beautiful place. It's actually right opposite from the castle that you saw in the first picture. But for some reason, this riverbank is being used like a shortcut for cars that want to transit the city. Most of these cars that you see in the picture, they don't go there into the heart of this historical center. They just want to go to the other side of the city. And there is about 20,000 cars a day that pass through this area. It's like this place where really when you walk, you see the whole one side of the historical city, but really it makes no sense for cars to be there. So our goal was that we said, okay, let's close for 1 day or 2 days this one place in Prague, and let's turn it into a car-free zone. So we did. It was crazy. That was my, like you have some experiences in your life, like that one experience that really stays with you for a long time. So that was my experience, because I was the head of the production for this event. Yeah, it was insane. The budget was about 1 million Czech crowns, about 32,000 euros for just this one event. And no one believed that we can actually do this, because, yeah, I mean, like the idea that you don't allow cars to go somewhere, not because there is a construction going on, but just simply because you want to have fun there. It was crazy. And it was also sort of a bet with the politicians. It was a game, kind of. We said, do this if you say that you really mean it well with the sustainable transportation, that your words, that we can take you for your words. Just do it. Close this street. So that was happening in September for the International Car-Free Day. So you see here one of the things that was there. There's this hamaka. That was one of the things that we were trying to place we were trying to put in a number of things, There was a theater. Also here you can see a little bit, there are some cafes in the street. So we talked to all the cafes from the area and we asked them to come out with their tables. We invited some kids theater. There was a bike repair area. There was little chairs you could sit on. There was a little NGO market also. We invited a lot of NGOs. So we closed it for 2 days, 48 hours. Okay, next slide.
What year was that?
2006. So we closed down one location for cars. This is from another, this view is from the other side. So you can see on the side those blue tents. That was the NGO market. We also had 2 really nice theater performances. There was an American theater company that came and they did this kind of performance about car accidents. It was really interesting. We had about 10,000 visitors because at the time we also had the PR from the city who wanted to show off actually with what we did. I forgot to say we made a deal with the city that the whole area was divided into 2 parts. One was our part, the AutoMat initiative, and the second half was theirs. And what they did in their part was they built up this artificial climbing wall, and they had the mayor climb up there, you know, with all the journalists taking picture of him. It was pretty funny. And we had about 30 subjects, 30 organizations involved, and we were really exhausted. So, no, wait. So fast forward 2 years, we did this for another 2 years. We chose different locations in the city. And after those 2 years, we were thinking, okay, what are we gonna do? Because it was not our goal to become a big production company, you know. And we were slowly becoming a big production company. We were activists. We wanted to do activism, not, you know, organize cultural events. So we were really tired at that time and wondering what to do with this concept. So now I'm gonna stop for a minute the talking and just to let you look at the pictures a little bit. Okay, one more. Maybe there's another one, I think. Okay, so don't look at this yet. So what we decided in 2008, we had this brainstorming, and we decided that we were not going to be the producers of another festival, and we decided to give the idea away to people. So we decided we would ask the active people that we know, also maybe people with some experience in production, but basically active citizens, and we were gonna teach them how to do this thing for themselves in their own areas in Prague, and that we were not gonna organize this huge event by ourselves. So we slowly started to spread the concept, and we decided that we will be the main coordinators, but the local coordinators will have the responsibility over their locations. So here you see a little bit over the years how we evolved this idea that we are the ones who sort of overlook the whole thing, and the local coordinators take initiative in their areas, and we sort of try to help them as much as we can with their productions. And the pictures that you saw, they were from these local events. So maybe in the first year we had like 3 or 4 places. Maybe can we move one? Let's see. No, forward. Okay, one more forward. Yeah. So in the beginning we had 3 or 4 places. This is the view of 2019. More or less, yeah. So we are moving within those 14 years. We moved from 3 or 4 locations to about 83 in 2019. You can see, not to make everything look so perfect, you can see that most of these locations are within the very center. There's not so much in here where we actually would like this thing to happen also. But for some reason, it's some reason that I want you to also think about and that I'm going to talk about. It's more tempting, more interesting for people with the inner city to do these kind of events. Sorry, can we go 2 back? And 1 more back. Good. So here I want to talk a little bit about the principles of our festivity. So one of the principles is sharing. So we try to share. The idea is that you share the public space. You share the physical space. This is a really important element in this, that you actually, when the cars are not there, you can actually do a lot more social interaction, because in heavy traffic you cannot really do social interaction. So you share public spaces, but you also share skills and things. So everybody, these things are super low cost, like there are almost no charges. So people try to get whatever they need from the resources of the community. There's the principle of volunteering, like the local coordinators, they're not paid for what they do. They do this in their free time, and of course sometimes this is demanding, and every once in a while some of these organizers, they would do these things for 2 years and then they say they want to stop, which is perfectly fine, or someone else takes up the responsibility. There's the local setting and the originality. That means we don't try to put in elements that are not there. We always work with what is there, or they work with what is there, So the goal is not to get a big truck and bringing a small swimming pool or something. So there's a very low threshold for participation, which means we don't really have any strong conditions for people to participate. We do overlook their activity, and we try to steer a little bit in order to help them create their vision, but it's not like it's an open call, but we don't exclude anyone. Yeah, so there's no application process like you would have to apply and then someone decides if what you want to do is okay or not. We talk to everyone. There's also the principle of learning and creating connections I was talking about. And one of the rules is to stay apolitical and non-commercial. The non-commercial, both of these rules sometimes difficult to negotiate. For example, with the non-commercial, like if there's an organizer who is a very good producer, he would maybe put in some little stalls with some, design clothes, because you can do that, it's allowed to have some business within this, like selling coffee or clothes. But if he's really good, he's gonna put in 4 stalls with clothes, and then he ends up having a pretty good, money at the end of the event. So we really talk to these people and explain to them that it's not another business plan that they have. But sometimes it's very hard to negotiate where it's okay and where it's not okay, because we also want the people who organize this to make some money, right? Because this is how they pay for, maybe if they have a band playing, so they pay for the band by making some money selling beer, for example. Okay. This is something about the goals. You can see here that the goals a little bit changed from the beginning. So in the beginning we wanted to close one street for cars. By the way, this area in Prague that I was talking about in the beginning, it's still not closed for cars, you know, like that was one of our goals in 2006, to actually push the city to close this for transit. And we still haven't managed, you know, there's still cars. Like there was just this year, there was another big city conducted measurement in there. They again found out that there's way too much cars, that the levels of noise are way over the limits, the health limits, but there was still no political will to close this part of town. So that was not, you know, see, we were not successful in this, yeah. But we realized over the time that what we were doing was maybe not so much about the physical space, but more about the people who were involved. That we were actually building these community relationships and strengthening the local communities. And also what's great about the festival is that it's like a training course for being an active citizen, right? Because you learn to deal with the administration, you learn to talk to the politicians, you learn to be present in the public space, take responsibility for what you do in the public space. So it's like, it's like if you train to be a cosmic pilot, or you know, like, so you train your civic skills in this. And also to change the view of the public space in a way. So maybe the last point is the most arguable, because there is not so much happening in this level of closing areas for cars, you know. But I want to talk more about it. Okay, we can go on. So there you see the locations in 2019. Here are a little bit of numbers. So you see that in 2019 we had 85 locations in Prague, but we had about 32 cities in the Czech Republic. So this is something that happened over the years as well. We spread the concept outside of our city, and now there are 32 towns across the Republic which are taking part. And there you see just the amount of space we take up and the number of participating subjects. There's a little animation. Yes, you can see how the participation was growing over time. Yeah, good. That's a little bit about the amount of, you see how this was slowly growing, yeah? So in 2010 we had about 5 locations, and in 2012 we had one other town other than Prague. So things take time, you know? They don't happen like this. It really takes time. This is the rough look at the amount of visitors. It's always it's a guess, you know. It's not, you can't really count the people, but we usually ask the local organizers to make an idea of how many people there are in the peak hours. Okay, and now I'm getting to the really important part. So the question is, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to have a one-day festival over the whole Czech Republic and spend 6 months preparing this. Why? What do you think? Why do you want to do this, you know? What's the point? I mean, if you're an activist, right, you can spend the 6 times talking to your politician. So what's the reason? Why would you want to do this? Putting so much effort into, you know, organizing this, and it's a one-thing event. People go, get a beer, have fun, and it's over. Maybe take their kids out and have some fun with them. So actually, we found out that the real reason why we do this is that this is something that's creating the civic society, right? But I'm telling you, we didn't know this in the beginning, right? We didn't know we were doing this. So this is why what I'm getting to is the important question of design, you know. Sometimes you think you're doing something, but you're actually doing something else. So we thought we were doing a street festival, and it comes out we were creating civic society. So these are like little civic initiatives created in these areas. Comes out that if people learn how to cooperate in maybe organizing a street event, they are pretty good in organizing a petition, a riot, complaint to the city hall, a kind of an activism thing. So over the years, we have seen these initiatives to like protect a park in their neighborhood, maybe comment on a plan for a big highway to be built in their area, to take up spaces as well. Some of these initiatives also then turned into something that they would rent a small place in their neighborhood, and they just run this kind of year-long activity. And also what we started seeing after the years is that some of these initiatives also went for the local elections, you know? So the people who were active as community leaders at some point decided that they would run for their local municipality. So some of them actually became politicians later, which is really weird. Okay, I think this is a little bit of a spin-off from this event. To experience the city normally or every day, when we try to support these local initiatives and give promotion to the activities they do throughout the whole year. So, yeah. This is the organizer's manual. This is one of the things we do for the people. We have this little manual where you just get the basic instructions, what to do, how to do it, like if you want to have a screening, how you need to place your projector, very practical things for when you want to be an organizer. And that's pretty much it. That's one of the pictures from the events happening there. I didn't talk about the events, but really if you start naming the things that happen during the festival, they're not big things, you know. There's like painting on the ground. There is maybe a pétanque match, you know. There is, in one of the places they do this run up the hill, because they do it in a very steep street. So there's always this run up the hill, which is really popular. All the guys from the area take part in this. They run up. There is knitting, there's a second-hand bookshop, there is a theater performance, maybe. In the evening there's a screening. Often the small cinemas want to take part in this because they've been lately losing visitors a lot. And so these are all really small things. There's no big thing happening there, no complicated production, nothing like that, just things you can do basically in a day. Let's see. Yeah. But really what's happening is that these people are learning to cooperate and creating the social connections in their neighborhood, which they need in order to do other things in there. So I want to ask you in the end to think a little bit about the elements that you have in your head for maybe for Astana or for other towns, Nur-Sultan, sorry, for other towns and places where you live, and think about some elements that you could use also in your campaigns, in your activities, and how you could do these things very simply to create something that you want. If you want to create a community event, what kind of things you could put in, who would you talk to, which places you would use? Because it seems like there are certain places and there are certain people who work like kind of hubs for everything else, you know. They are like these neural points, like in nerves, you know, these places where the transmission happens. So there are places in the city which work like this kind of transmission areas. So if you do something small in that place, a lot of people will see it. There are also people who work like this kind of transmission points, you know, like the kind of people who know everyone. So if you involve these people, you gonna have a very large impact. There are also organizations that work like that because they work with a lot of people. Charities, for example, work with a lot of people. Schools, kindergartens, community centers, sometimes also companies. So I just want you to think about these little things that you can put into your pot to create something that you want to create. Okay, thank you.